iconic, individual, instant, the Polaroid 600. So, what is it about this camera? In order to fully appreciate how much the 600 impacted photography, it is important to look at the precursors which led to its development. Edwin Ladd, a larger-than-life personality, pushed the brilliant concept of instant photography to a new level in the early 1970s. Having already spent several decades innovating and refining the process of the instant photograph, it was in 1972 that all these elements culminated with the unveiling of the SX70. Here was a truly pocket-sized instant camera that provided manageable images in minutes. Following the success of the SX70, Polaroid sought to bring the winning formula into a more affordable format. Beginning with the One Step, the design evolved into what eventually would become the 600 series. Although the variations and names were many, the 600 was designed specifically to utilize 600 film, that is, film set to an ISO of around 600, which would enable a more indoor-friendly platform. Sadly, not long after the 600 had launched, Edwin had left the company, but his legacy and vision lived on with this easy-to-use, low-cost instant camera. So, here we have a Polaroid Spirit 600 CL. As you can see, this one still has its original box and pamphlets, such as the instruction booklet. We'll look at these later, but for now, let's look at the camera itself. Now, the construction is plastic, a little bit cheapy feeling in my opinion. As you can see, this has an integrated flash. The CL stands for close-up, and we'll examine this specific feature later. So, these were made throughout the 1980s, though it is next to impossible to accurately date them. We'll look at things like the serial number later, and where it was constructed. This switch controls the close-up. It's between 4 feet in infinity, and close-up shots between 2 and 4 feet. The camera also has a plastic lens and a plastic viewfinder. There is also a switch to toggle between normal shooting or factoring dark or lighter compositions. This is a simple alternative to a shutter speed selector. When a shot is taken, film is expended from the slot at the bottom of the camera here. On the left-hand side of the back of the camera is the eyepiece for the viewfinder. There is also a flash charge ready indicator. To close the camera, simply push the flash bar down. And to turn it on, pull it up. Let's have a look through the viewfinder. Here you can see the close-up lens in operation. There is a small oval in which to guide for faces and portraiture. It is not uncommon to find the rubber around the eyepiece of the viewfinder damaged. Fortunately, this example is in good condition. Polaroid film is now made by a company formerly known as the Impossible Project. They essentially were able to utilize a former Polaroid factory during Polaroid's closure. thing to keep in mind is that the current cartridges are comprised of 8 shots, whereas the old ones were 10. This should be factored with the film counter, as it will continue counting to the full 10 shots of the old cartridges. As mentioned earlier, there is a form of primitive metering system. Light enters through a rudimentary meter. The switch is set to the left, more light enters through the meter, and the camera adjusts for a short exposure and thus a darker image. To the right, less light enters, and the camera adjusts for a longer exposure and a lighter image. Obviously, this provides nowhere near as much control as variable shutter speeds, but it is a nice touch for the novice photographer. To load and unload film cartridges, push the switch towards the front of the camera. Here you can see the camera's serial number and where it was manufactured. This camera was made in the long since closed Vale of Leven factory in Dunbartonshire, Scotland. The old cartridge can be pulled by this tab. The camera is powered entirely by batteries in these cartridges. It is always a good idea to retain them after use for testing purposes. Here is some Polaroid 600 film. This is a standard pack, though there are a number of variations available. As mentioned, these only have 8 shots, rather than the 10 of old. This is the dark slide, which will be handy for protecting the picture once it is developing after it has been ejected from the camera. It is important to ensure that the rollers are kept clean, as this can affect the images and leave smudges. Push the cartridge all the way in. Close the flap, and the camera will automatically expel the dark slide. The camera is now ready for shooting. Let's take some experimental shots with this 1964 GPO 706. We can experiment with flash and light and dark modes. To take this shot with the flash, press the red button fully. It is best best to place the picture somewhere dark, or to use the dark slide whilst it develops. Contrary to popular myth, shaking the picture is something you definitely do not want to do. To take the picture without the flash, depress the black lever behind the red button. In terms of indoor shots, the 600 can be a bit challenging. Let's look at the contents of the box. I'm not quite sure how this got in here, but for some reason a self-timer was stuffed in the box when I got it. Here we have an old warranty card, expired by decades. And here is the instruction manual. Makes you feel that you're right there in the 1980s. So, what do I think of the Polaroid Spirit 600 CL? Well, it is a quick, easy to use camera. What is more, they're fairly cheap and lots of fun.